welcome back to Tao of Twang. I'm Dave. So this is kind of a mapped out guitar solo. A lot of times on the channel, I'll do kind of a stream of consciousness, like sort of a true improvisation for the introduction, because that's what we mainly do on this channel, right? Now this time, I'm improvising, but I did several passes on this, right? I worked it, I mapped it out. Started out just, doing whatever, then each time around, kind of made a game plan. I'm gonna work some right here, then I'm gonna make a transition to here, then at the end I'm gonna get up to here, and so we don't have to go through the whole thing, exactly like that. But I wanted to mention it because it's kind of partially what this lesson's about. Most of it's G minor pentatonic. I'll show you the chords in a second. And there'll be a loop of this backing track that I just played over at the end of this for you to practice with. Now, okay, I might have listened to a little Pink Floyd when I was a kid. Right? A couple times I might have even been in the right mindset when I listened to it. And I also wanted to mention Alvin Lee. You might be thinking, well, that's kind of a jump, Pink Floyd and Alvin Lee. It's all blues. It's all minor pentatonic. A lot of the guitar work, right? So that's the beautiful thing about that era, is how all of these bands and different players took those 5 or 6 notes and made all of this stuff that's so individual and creative and limitless, boundless. It's just amazing. So Alvin Lee was in this band called 10 years after in the 60s. And he played at Woodstock, and he played that kind of extreme Chuck Berry style, the I'm Going Home. That was the real famous one in the Woodstock movie. When I was really starting out, I only had one record of theirs, and it wasn't the one with all the live stuff and all the kind of really, extreme playing. It was like ballads and bunch of different stuff. Well, one of the songs on there was called Positive Vibrations. I just want to mention that because if you haven't heard that, or if you haven't heard it in a long time, go back, just look that thing up on YouTube and watch it. It's just kind of, now it sounds kind of dated, an old stoner song or something, like a lot of them do. But God, it's just, the guitar is so out front. And when you were listening to these records and trying to pick up these licks, back then, that was a lot of the challenge of it, right? Which is just, you're just trying to cipher out what the notes were, right? And through your crappy stereo, and everything. I mean, it was, there was a lot working against you. This, that album and that song in particular, the licks just stood out like he was just standing right in front of me. I think that's why I was attracted to it. I wanted to really give credit there because a lot of the licks I just played were directly taken from that record. So our chords are G minor, B flat, relative major, C minor. Okay, let me make sure I stay turned this way. I noticed in the intro when I watched it, played it back, I kind of swiveled my seat around. It got worse and worse as we went through it. So G minor pentatonic. Nothing fancy at first. Okay, so there's our first kind of move out of there. And I don't mean to just, presume that, okay, everybody's, satisfied with everything that they're doing in that main shape 1 there of that minor pentatonic. But whatever level you are, wherever you are with that, do your thing, and then I'm going to show you how to get to some other areas of the neck with it, right? So one way is to, I'm doing a lot of stuff pivoting from the third and a lot of kind of landing and leaning on the root. Don't be afraid to do that, especially when you're starting off and kind of establishing a solo. Sounds kind of cool, kind of brings the listening ear into it. But, before too long, that starts getting a little pedestrian sounding. So, this is a nice move because it takes you to the fifth, right? The note is D, the fifth of the G minor. And it also, if you end up on the right finger when you get up there, it puts you right in position for the next. Just an octave of those same notes that you're probably messing around with down here, right? But it changes the listening ear, right? It elevates it, and it gives you motion, across the neck. So here's what I did at the beginning of that intro solo was something like that. We'll just kind of wait for it to come around. I think I may have actually come back down after the first time. I think I went. So I'd already done it, and then kind of come back. So you don't have to always keep going up. You can work it back and forth. But the important thing about this part of it is sliding in there and working your fingering out. So if I'm going, I like to switch over to my middle finger right there and slide it from 2 frets back. Okay, then it drops you right there. Okay, now there's the same idea going to the next. And you see what's happening is we're basically just walking up that scale. The same notes, right? When we get up here, I'll show you in a minute, there is some G natural minor stuff in here too, in that intro, right? So there's a couple of the places where I played more notes than just the pentatonic. Okay, so if you need to, go off to the side and just make sure you got that G natural minor going on too. But 90% of it's pentatonic, right? I'm just using those as connectors, right? But just so you know that that's what's going on in those portions. So that last little one was after I got up here. I slid that thing right on up there. I put the track on so I make it a little more musical for you. So again, just another position of that G minor. All right. So you can just think of these as whatever the neighbors are. We're working on connecting them by these slides, right? But they slide into chord tones or at least scale tones from the, and they're also going to be chord tones. Because when we slid into we ended up on the third, the minor third of that G minor, right? So you don't have to account for all of this stuff theoretically all the time. But, if you're like, man, I like that sound and I want to be able to do that, in other pieces, those are the things that you can take note of, right? Just don't get so sidetracked with trying to make lists of everything that you need to be doing that it interferes with what you actually are doing, right? Which is probably a whole lot better than you think it is. So it may not need fixing as bad as you think it does, right? You just need to kind of let it happen more, right? So um, I know that can sound pretty pie in the sky, so I'm giving you like concrete ways to map it out. Now here, I don't end up in a great. I mean, it connects to another, one of the shapes of pentatonic, but if I want to go, I'm just going to move. I'm just going to move it. Sometimes you just have to mechanically change your position, and that's probably what I did here. I probably, something like that. That might have been one of the places where I put some of the. Put a little bit of that minor scale in. Right. Let me put the track back on, and we'll kind of map it out up to there. We'll wait for the port to come around. You can start anywhere you want in the track, but just to give you the. I did back it up, I remember doing that coming down, and I did like a. That's actually a Rory Gallagher. That's more of a kind of a, really getting that feeling of almost a hybrid of the natural minor mixed in there with it. It's still mostly pentatonic. It's that shape, right? I like that because it's really this. Right? If you haven't put that together, that this is, because this sometimes can be difficult because you got that some folks might be using their pinky. I just use these three fingers when I do a repetitive lick like that. I guess if you put your pinky up there on the top one, but the whole thing's pretty difficult down there. But up here, it's more like. See that? I'll usually kind of trill that or hammer that. Right, that's a very Clapton-ish and Rory Gallagher, and it stands out because a lot of players don't use that position near as much as the other ones, including myself. And that's just that. Okay. And then a couple more little moves here that I'm going to get you to the practice track. So let's take it kind of up through there, and then I'll go on up to this. We're really going to end up kind of where we started down here, right? We're going to end up in a position above the 12th fret that's identical to this one. So and I'll slow it down a little. That was right at the beginning of it, wasn't it? So we'll wait. One little thing there that might be, interesting is it's a minor G. So when I get to this fret, If I bend it too far, it's going to go to a major third. That's not going to work, right? So I want it to go. All right. Yeah, sort of like when you're down. So that's where you get that natural minor scale put in there, but you're bending it. And then I kind of did some of the same business to just get from there up to this final. All right. And on a part 2 of this, I'm going to show you some more of the repetitive, where I did the, that sort of thing. This first round on this, really work on connecting your positions, right? And you're going to come up with different ways to do this sliding stuff where you're targeting, one of those scale tones, which will also be one of the G minor triad or one of the chords. It'll fit the chord tones as well. And just move yourself along like that. Now, sometimes it's a little easier working it going up than it is coming down. And sometimes when I want to go back down, I just kind of pull up camp up here and just kind of move my hand back down. I don't have as many things that I've worked out for that. But, you certainly want to have that kind of that moving towards that apex. You want that feeling in a big rock solo like this style, right? Alvin Lee's a beautiful example of that, and many others. Let me know how this goes. Be looking out for part 2 in a few days. Take care.